What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review the seventh album by rap group 36 Mafia. Basically, this product is called Choices to the Setup, and it came out in the spring of 2005. Thing about this particular product, this is the sequel to the Choices 1 album from 2001. Pretty good pitch. Both of these particular products had movies attached to them as far as that pitch kind of went along with it. Some good stuff to kind of get some bonus products. The true aspect about these particular products is the fact that they're like, you basically get like an extra 36 Mafia album, because both of which in some senses, the traditional kind of follow up to When the Smoke Clears from the year 2000 was actually The Unbreakables from 2003. And it's the same thing, the sequel, the Unbreakables from 2003 was moreover like Most Known Unknown from late 2005. But basically, choices 1 and 2 are like some bonus products by 36 Mafia that just had a lot of good packaging. And it's pretty awesome that they just decided to do like a whole soundtrack album within that relative pitch. These choices products might as well be bonus 36 Mafia albums, and they're just considered that within the quality. I look after this is basically like a monster mash of an affair with like the Hypnotized Minds label and pitches like that. Lil White and Fraser Boy are on here a number of times. Pretty good pitch for that. It's basically like a miniature kind of Lil White album just within the sense because he's on here so many times. It's a pretty awesome concept. Same thing with Fraser Boy. I look after there's some good guests on here on top of that. D-Rock, the Ying Yang Twins on here. The Young Bloods are on here. Trellville's on here, which is a pretty good pitch just because not too many folks were fucking with them in 2005. Lil Flip contributes a verse on here. So that's a pretty good appeal with it. There's a cat named Mr. Big. I want to say Mr. Big is deceased. I don't know his full blown, but I want to say possibly he may not be around anymore because I haven't heard about him much in recent times. RIP in the same sense, but I look after it's just a good concept. So this did have some good promotion about it, at least the relative cycle. I mean, this is a pretty rowdy type album. This is definitely more 36 Mafia on like their more When the Smoke Clears type days. It has that relative pitch. I mean, it has like the Venom. It's a little bit more commercial. It's kind of an in-between type project between like the Unbreakables, When the Smoke Clears, and then Most Known Unknown, where it's not as commercial as Most Known Unknown. That's definitely one of their most commercial products from 36 Mafia, but I look after it. It's also it has the vicious kind of head trip appeal of like it has the vicious kind of head trip appeal of the Unbreakables with some like the rowdy kind of get more tore up type energy of like When the Smoke Clears. So it's just a good concept of that. Just the crunk energy of When the Smoke Clears with like the demonic type fare of the Unbreakables with some commercial type fare of Most Known Unknown, I would say. So it's a pretty excellent type pitch, but really the promotion for this particular product was relatively brief. I mean, I said that it kind of was large, but it's just the concept of the disc. 36 Mafia was huge in 2005, so it's just a big deal. A lot of the stuff that they did just made a lot of the scenes, so it's just a pretty good concept of that. But basically, the single was Who I Is. This is a pretty nice one. And just to go ahead and say, there's 14 songs on this particular project. There's 14 songs in this particular product, and out of those 14 songs, I wound up recommending 12. So it's a pretty excellent pitch. The only two songs I don't recommend on here in any fashion is just the song PIMP and then the Posse song at the end. So that's just the pitch behind it. We'll get to those, but basically, I'm going to talk about the hit single Who I Is. So this is a real nice one. It's like a classic 2000s crunk carnage of a song, I'd have to say. This song gets things shredding real fast. I'd have to say in particular, it's like some good dance noise and Friday night definite some Friday night glitz to kind of get here. So this is just a vintage one. If you like songs with 36 Mafia, like Stay Fly and like Ride and Spin or some of those type pitches, this is some of that type fare. It's actually more in like the reminiscent days of When the Smoke Clears, like I was saying, just more standard crunk just within the sense. It just kind of has like some of that Lil Jon type feel, stand up on couches, get rowdy, some of that type pitch, get buck, some of that type tone just within the concept. It's a real frenetic type one. I really appreciate the concept. Trillville really contributes to the song extremely well. It's an excellent concept and a good feature to have them on there. In addition to Lil White, it's an excellent just overall house party of like a craze, just pitches like that, and overall club craze as well, I'd have to say. It's real excellent type fare. Some real good awesomeness to kind of get here. This quality single, just an overlook kind of single nowadays from 36 Mafia, just an excellent type concept. Take this vintage 36 hit, I'd have to say it's good concept for that. But yeah, so the songs on here, talk about the two songs I don't recommend on here real quick. Just talk about PIMP and Posse song. So basically, Posse song, just didn't really appreciate the production on that one. It was just kind of one trying to be like a little bit of like a rumbler of type one. Posse song was just trying to be a little bit of like a rumbler and like a horrorcore type sense, but it just didn't really nail the vibe nearly as well as it needs. It was just kind of a clumsy type one, the overall execution of it. Then PIMP was kind of the same. Then PIMP was kind of the same concept, just another clumsy type plotting type one. Pretty much one of the few poor productions on here as far as that pitch particularly kind of went. It probably needed a production more like Yeah, I Rob or Who I Is, some of those type ones, or something like Getting Real Buck, one of those type pitches for like the rowdiness. I mean, they definitely, for the most part, nailed this particular crunk rowdiness. Just the concept of like taking it back to like When the Smoke Clears days, a little bit of like the ruggedness from like certain kind of more ruffled ones from the Unbreakables. But I just look at it just some good concepts kind of get most of these, but PMP just didn't nail it as well. PIMP just didn't nail it as well. But yeah, there is stock. There are plenty of good blistering hits on here. One that kind of feels like a buzz single off this product. I don't know how many singles. The thing about this particular product is just the fact that Wikipedia doesn't really list the promotion off it that well. I mean, it at least says in 36 Mafia's discography that there was a music video released for Who I Is. So I assume that that was the single around that time. They had a big 2005, so I just questioned if there were any buzz singles or pitches like that. But one that really feels like it was Yeah, I Robbed. It's like a good buzz song, and pairing with Who I Is, I would definitely feel like also reminds me of Riding Spinners a little bit from the Unbreakable's good pitch for behind that. Just a relatively kind of rough around the edges, just more standard club type noises, so with a little bit less. I mean, it just has a little bit more rough draft type feel compared to like Who I Is and some of those more polished kind of 3/6 singles. I'd have to say Riding Spinners, some of those type tones, but they're more like sipping on some syrup, some of those type tones that I'd say. But this is like a pretty dark club turn up of a song, I would definitely have to say. So it's a good concept for that. Do you like the pitch behind some of these? This is a song that has Mr. Big on there, so it's a dope enough concept. Kind of get that. Do appreciate this particular pitch. One real an excellent quality song on here that's definitely a great one to smoke to is Past That Shit. It's like a classic get hella destroyed smokage field day of a song. I would definitely feel like it's like a swampy and morose kind of club highlight, I would definitely have to say. This just over has like a devilish production, I'd have to suppose. So this is definitely one you don't want to miss out on this song. If there's some songs that you should immediately make a beeline for, I'd say this is definitely one of those to just get completely tore up to and just have like a shrill head trip of a time. This is just an excellent type one, some real demonic type fare just to kind of get here. Real excellent type one. Really appreciate the concept. I'm glad that Lil White was on the song. Glad that glad that Frazier Boy was on this particular song. Just an overall good posse track to kind of get. And that's the thing. The posse song is really not that much of a posse song because most of these songs, Lil White and Frazier Boy are kind of on some of these. So it's just kind of a concept that 36 Mafia in combination with some extra folks on top of that just really makes for like a real kind of gangstified type party, I'd have to say. So it's an excellent. So some excellent concepts. Stanky Stank is a real highlighted one as well. It's probably one of the best ones on the album in terms of one to immediately go for. It's another quality smoke one. It's like a superb kind of smoke, hella good, slinky fun of a song. I would definitely have to say it's like a Red Eyes kind of get tore up and just good munchy song to kind of get here. This is definitely like some good hangout fun. Just kind of one to snicker to, just kind of kick back, watch some Jackass, some of those type movies, watch some funny movies, some of those type bitches, Harold and Kumar, some of those type ones I'd had to say. It's an excellent type concept, kind of get to some of that. The standard type fare of mid 2000s is Glaze as far as that particular pitch kind of goes. This is a good, nice one. This one's not quite as crazy crunk as far as that pitch kind of goes, but this is an overall nice one. Just kind of get really has a pretty bouncy and kind of frenetic beat and just like a glared type tone. I really like the appeal of the slinkiness of this particular one. One Hit a Quit is a pretty nice one as well. It's like a brooding and demonic kind of horrorcore similar to like Head. It's like a brooding and demonic kind of horrorcore similar type song to kind of get here. It's definitely like a head trip and smoke good. Definite tune to get, and it's like some vanilla crunk revving, I would definitely feel like. So it's an excellent concept. This is one of the ones pretty similar to like Past That Shit, some of those type tones just to kind of get within the aspect, just having some real kind of shrillness and just overall this gothicness just within that tone. But them being 36 Mafia is an obvious tone that they need some of these brooding type ones. But it's just a concept that, 36 Mafia is starting to cross over into more commercial type lights, definitely with Most Known Unknown and Last to Walk. But this is just a good concept, some of that horrorcore type tone that probably hasn't been seen since like Mystic Styles and like their 90s albums, I'd have to say. So it's a good concept. But I mean, it was here and there. I mean, I do feel like the Unbreakables did have some of that demonicness, but this in a more kind of commercial club crunk type setting. It's a good concept. I Show Will remix is a pretty nice one. This is a little White and Lil Flip song, but still pretty good pitch to get this one on here. There's like a more shrill and ghastly Lil White remix, I would feel like, this compared to the original. The original one was just more of like a pounding kind of rugged type one. It's more of like a thumper and like a car cruise out type one, but this one just has a little bit more horrorcore type tone. Reminds more of like You Scared from like their 2003 days, the 36 Mafia You Scared song from 2003, and like Project Pat's Gloom. Just a good pitch behind that. If you like Project Pat's like 2005, 2006, 2007 projects, it has some pretty much some of that Night Traverse type appeal, some of that just gas station runs pitches like that. That's what I have to say. Getting Real Buck's a real nice one as well. It's like a standard kind of in-between commotion of a song, I would have to say. Just some good night revving and a good crunk Kickstarter. I would definitely feel like it's like a basic jaunt, I would have to say here, and a good song to drink up to. Now, Getting Real Buck, thing about this particular song is it's not much of a song, and this is basically like some rowdiness kind of energy. Just really gets you hype and pitches like that. It's just kind of a concept of just some standard turn up just within the sense, just kind of more noise making more so than anything else. Just some rowdy crunkness just to kind of get here. Just an excellent concept for that. But it is a good song and it should be pretty shrill, I'd have to say. Who the Fuck You Playing With? This is a pretty nice one. This says D-Rock, the Yin Yang Twins, and Youngbloods on here. It's a pretty nice one. I do like some of these team ups and the overall features that they got on here. It's like a riveting kind of club smash, and this one's a little bit more peppy and commercial of a crunk hitter, I would have to say, but it is a pretty good noisemaker bop to kind of get. So it's an excellent type concept here. Yeah, it's an excellent noisemaker bop to kind of get here. It's a good concept. I had to switch rooms real quick, but it's just the concept behind it. So I look after the pitch behind this particular song. Really, I mean, it's kind of like almost like a horrorcore type song, but it's also within the pitch of just having a little bit of commercial bite towards it. It's something that probably could have been like a relative, maybe probably could have been like a promo single, something like that, or at least just like a stand. It's just kind of more entry and just kind of like uh banter and kind of more of like, you know, this foyer type music. I'd have to say this within the concept, just kind of the aspect of just like some kind of initial kind of mess hall type music just within that relative pitch. I mean, it definitely has some of the ghastliness about it. It's a pretty good pitch. This is actually an album that's actually relatively haunting. I'd have to say it retains some of that 3/6 hauntiness that it typically has, but it also has some of that crunk type fare with a little bit of like smokish head trip typeness to kind of get here. So it's just a good amalgamation. Once again, it's just a blend of like some of the 2000s 3/6 albums, the Unbreakables, When the Smoke Clears, and Most Unknown that would come out later. So it's a pretty good pitch for that. This real classic. This is a classic album here. This is going to get a 10 out of 10. Just would have to say. Squeeze It's a pretty nice one. It's like a vintage kind of 3/6 from like When the Smoke Clears days. I would definitely feel like it's like a routine kind of get tore up night activity, and this song gleams pretty well. Yeah, I would definitely say that Squeeze It reminds of like the Who Run It song from like the When the Smoke Clears days as far as those pitches kind of happen with it. Just an excellent type concept kind of get there. Just standard vanilla kind of crunk typeness. Just an early 2000s reminiscent type 3/6 song. Just an early 2000s reminiscent 3/6 type song to kind of get within that fashion. Excellent type stuff to kind of get here. Trying to think of some other songs I haven't talked about quite as much yet. I'd have to say maybe It's Whatever With Us is like a nice one. Actually, I'm going to make a revision about this. I made an error in the particular review. So basically, It's Whatever With Us is like the actual nice one here. I'm going to make a revision about this review because I made a mistake within the review. So basically, It's With Us is like the song that features D-Rock and D-Rock from Yin Yang Twins, and then Youngblood's on here. There's like a stark and creeping kind of horrorcore with like a skeletal pep. I would definitely feel like it's like a good, adoring kind of spooky season bop to kind of get here. So this has a little bit of commercial bite about it. Just kind of some of that gloss, just like the appeal behind some of that relative type pitch. It's a real nice one. Like this particular Posse song, this has an excellent type flair about it, I'd have to say. Real good pep to kind of get this one. Definitely has some of that ghastliness that 3/6 Mafia kind of typically has, just within the aspect of just something that feels like a little bit more of just like something more aimed for like, I mean, the Unbreakables was definitely like I would definitely say that the Unbreakables was kind of like a gateway project. Despite how demonic that particular album was, it was kind of a gateway for like a good starting point to kind of start fucking with rap music within some of that tone. I feel like this is kind of like a gateway song within a relative sense. So it has some of that relative appeal, this more commercial bite towards it, a little bit more user friendly a song compared to some of this. I mean, I feel like most of this 3/6 stuff is pretty casual, just in the sense that the casual score, the social score is going to get a pretty high appeal just because this is a real affable type one. But I'd say that this is probably like another relatively gateway type one, even though I feel like the Unbreakables is probably more gateway. I feel like this is still some good stuff to kind of get here just within the tone behind it. Just retains that crunk with like some horrorcore mixed in. So it's just kind of a good blend of those. But basically, It's Whatever With Us. It's just like a basic nice one to kind of get for like some skeletal pep and just some good horrorcore just within a commercial bite of it. But then Who the Fuck You Playing With is a nice one as well. It's like it's like the kickoff song to the album apart from the intro, I'd have to say. It has Lil White and Fraser Boy on there, and this is like a pretty thunderous type one just right off the bat. It's like a riveting kind of club smash. I would feel like more peppy and commercial crunk hitter. I would definitely feel like it's like a good noisemaker bop to kind of get here. So this is definitely like an electro type one just to kind of get. Really like the overall tone of this particular one. It's really a spicy type one to kind of have within the fashion. Just some good turn up. I mean, it's a little bit more energetic. I'd have to say most of this is kind of more slumped and just kind of more slinky, kind of seeping, kind of just head trip type appeal, just within the aspect of just like that standard kind of creeping, kind of swamp kind of ooze about it. But I look after some of this, I feel like Who I is a pretty relative turn up, but this one's just a little bit more fast paced. It's a little bit more of like a dance smash. I would almost feel like the standard ladies really twerking some pitches like that. Just a good concept for some of this to kind of have for like some good aspects of just like some standard pitch of the night type craziness, or at least relative just amongst the night type crazes. Good concept for that. Official Crunk Junt's a pretty nice one as well. It's like a swamped and dark kind of nightclub gloom of a song. I would definitely feel like it's like a haunting kind of 3/6 highlight. I would definitely have to say, and it's like some regular crunk noise to kind of get here. The Official Crunk Junt is definitely like a pretty swamped and overall gross and gloom of just some good aspects of just like some of that moroseness just kind of get within that aspect. Just really morbid type one to kind of have for some of that appeal. Definitely some demonic type ones. Even though I feel like the Unbreakables was just a little bit more demonic, this is definitely nothing to really shake a stick at in terms of like the hauntingness of it. It's definitely some ghastliness, great for autumn and pitches like that. I'd have to say the standard fare. This kind of blurs the lines between commercial club hits and like horrorcore is good concept for that. Commercial horrorcore is pretty good pitch. Shoot Up the Club is a good hit quality one as well. I'd say it's like a vintage kind of 3/6 devilishness, I would have to say. It's like a glaring kind of night commerce. I would feel like it's like a residential trek and goodies song to kind of get here and just smoke up a bit. Just pick up some smokage, get like some frozen burritos, some corn nuts, some pitches like that, some Chex Mixes, some standard fare. Get some, sodas, Pepsi, 2 liters, some of that type pitch. Get some nachos, some of that type ness. This is just a real glare type one. This is one that you would probably just visit like some spots just high as hell as far as those pitches kind of happen. This is definite nice one just to listen to on your MP3 player. Just some pitches like that, just to kind of be able to just be in a real kind of just going out and all stoned as hell as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just a real glare type one, just perfect for like crisp and cool kind of autumn weather as far as that particular kind of goes. Just real nice one for like some smoke trips, just on like some residential walks home, some pitches like that. Good concepts for that. So I think that about covers it in terms of like the songs off the album that I particularly recommend, and just the songs on the album as whole. Just the songs on the album as a whole, I would have to say. So the album score of this project gets a 10 out of 10. The social score is going to get a 10 out of 10 also, just because I really like the appeal behind it, just the aspect of like some of these murky and kind of swamp kind of nightclub songs as far as those pitches kind of happen, combined with some of that Lil Jon type crunk and the 3/6 Mafia type crunk, and just that standard rowdiness and just turn up as far as that particular kind of goes. Some residential night thrills, just gas station runs, getting some nachos, burritos, some of that type area, some good concepts for that. Definitely like some good smokers type tunes to some of those type pitches, some good autumn crispness just to kind of have here. Plenty of just classic 3/6 Mafia just within that tone, plenty of socialness just to be able to have. It's pretty overall aspected type project, just kind of getting this overall appeal behind it's pretty high. This has some good concepts. I just look after it basically as a 10 out of 10. Most of these productions hit pretty heavily. It just hits the nail on the head pretty extremely, I'd say. So it's just an excellent type concept. Kind of get that here. Social aspects galore. The only thing I would say about it is just maybe possibly it needed another single, but there's plenty of good blitz on here. There's definitely some immediate ones like Who I Is, Yeah I Rock, Who I Is, Yeah I Rob, Past That Shit, Stanky Stanky, some of these type ones. Official Crunk Junt's a pretty nice one. One Hit It Quit is pretty pounding type one. There's just plenty of good immediate type ones to kind of get on here. Plenty of good guest lists relative to that particular time, I'd say. So it's an excellent type concept. It's basically like a good gangsta party from 3/6 Mafia. Just the guests on here are extremely thrilling. Just the budget behind this product's pretty awesome. So 10 out of 10. In terms of the future, like 3/6 Mafia has not put out an album since 2015 with the Mafia 6. Now the last actual album is 3/6 Mafia. That original name came out in 2008, but they do have an unofficial kind of unreleased album called Laws of Power that I want to get to as well. There's a few more 3/6 Mafia projects to get to. I'm definitely going to get to Last to Walk, Laws of Power. I'm definitely going to get to Last to Walk and Laws of Power, some of those type pitches as far as that particular kind of goes along with it, and some other type ones, some quality hits like Chapter 1, Chapter 2, some of those type fairs I'd have to say, including probably some more mixtapes that they might have. So some pretty good pitches there. Definitely devilish and demonic type project to get here. Very gothic and brooding, some residential type fun just to kind of get some overall club noise and just standard craziness of 3/6 Mafia that you come to know and expect. And it's just an overall outstanding album.